All right. Still not a bucket, but Tyler Hero is playing much better than he did at the beginning of the season.
I got a life skill for everybody. Each human being is a hero in their own movie.
Exactly.
Look at that.
That was beautiful.
Is he going to be one in the series?
They're going to need him to be. Duncan Robinson, to me, is the key. Catch and shoot three-point buckets. And Bam's defense against Giannis, because he's done it the most and the best.
That's a nice way of saying no. That's a nice way of saying no.
I'm picking the Bucks.
Okay.
Exactly. I'm picking the Bucks too. I'm with you.
That's because you lost money yesterday, so you're going to do whatever Jalen does. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the East, Jayson Tatum and the Celtics will look to upset the Nets in our ABC primetime game at 8 o'clock. After a tough season for Boston, Tatum dropped 50 in their play-in tournament win against the Wizards. That caught all kinds of attention.
You know, I felt like he had some blinders on and just focused in on developing and continue to grow as a player. And, you know, that's why I admired it the most from afar. But he's learning more and more about NBA defenses. And as a young guy, he's been through so much already. So he's only going to get smarter. So, you know, I think at this point, you know, people have thrown everything at him. And, you know, he's handling it pretty well.
All right, well, KD will get to admire him up close and personal in this series. Both Kevin Durant and Jayson Tatum scored early and often in their playoff careers. Durant is one of 4 players in league history to score at least 1,000 career points in the postseason at or before 23 years old. Tatum needs just 75 points this year to join that group. That also includes Kobe Bryant, Tony Parker, and LeBron James. Meanwhile, again, we can't really say it enough, but the big 3 for the Nets have only been able to play in 8 games together total. They are 6-2 during those games, and obviously we are so looking forward to seeing them all on the court throughout the playoffs. But if you had to single out one of the big 3, KD, Harden, or Kyrie, who would be the one that has to show up during the postseason for them?
Kevin Durant. And here's what's going to happen. The 5s for each team are not going to be responsible for getting offense, getting post-ups, or whatever. So when you look out on the floor, it's primarily going to be like a 6 and under game. The difference is going to be KD, because he's 6'11", and he's going to be the guy that all of a sudden Kyrie's going to be going back and forth with Marcus Smart, and we're going to be having fun, and Kimba's going to be going back and forth with James Harden, and we're going to be having fun. And we'll be like, hold on, like, who will guard KD?
Nobody.
That's what I'm talking about, and that's why he's the most important net in this series.
You know, I would agree with you on KD. Obviously, James Harden is the maestro. He unlocks this team. But I just don't want to sleep. Everybody always talks about all the things that happen off the court for Kyrie. Just call him 50, 40, 90. You know how hard it is to do 50, 40, 90 in an NBA season with the load that he produces offensively? I do think in isolated situations, when you need a bucket, Kyrie is one of the most brilliant there is in the game. And he also helps to make it easier offensively on both KD and James Harden.
I mean, the way these Nets have been built, there is no singular pressure on any of those 3 players. Having 3 dominant offensive performers as they do, you're going to see nights throughout the playoffs where you're going to see different players carry the load, you know, and then beyond the big 3, you know, Joe Harris can go out and put up big numbers for you. This is a team that was built so that there isn't that pressure on Durant, on Harden, on Irving, and that's what's going to make them so difficult to beat in the playoffs.
Just want to say, when we played with the Bulls, when we came back and we played the Indiana Pacers, do you know who was lit for that game? Do you know who was ready for that game? This man right here.
Absolutely.
Ready to play your your old team that you played for. You don't really agree with how things went down. This game is going to be personal. This series is going to be personal for Kyrie Irving.
And he's going to be ready to show them that he the one that got away. Because instead of him being a part of a big 3 in Boston, he's now part of one with the Nets.
I don't think he has to show them. They knew it. They knew it.
He's shown them all season long.
It's not been a mystery.
The house is clear.
Kyrie Irving, the 4th player ever to average at least 25 points and do the 50, 40, 90. Like, he's that guy. So that's what he's been able to do so far this season. We'll see what he's able to do in this series against his old team, obviously, with everything that goes into that. Let's go ahead and run the floor and tell you what's coming up next on NBA Countdown in 7 minutes. Jay breaks down how the Bucks plan to move Giannis Antetokounmpo around the floor against the wall of the Heat. And then in 15, can Dame Time cash in against the Joker and the Nuggets? And in 20 minutes, there are a number of motivations that Milwaukee has in this series against Miami, but Woj shares that the biggest might have more to do with life than the game.
That's that feel-good music. Wipe off from Stacey Adams.
Well, if you're ready for a little more Luka magic, just know that the second game of our doubleheader will be the Mavericks taking on the Clippers. And it's been 10 years since the Mavericks won the NBA championship, and they have struggled in the playoffs since then. They have lost in the first round in each of their last 5 appearances, including last year against the Clippers. Now it's time for today's three-point performance, brought to you by Mountain Dew. The Grizzlies, they've been on their Grizzly. They hit 15 three-pointers in their win against the Warriors on Friday, 4 more than their season average. Ja Morant led the way with a career-high 5 threes, 4 of which came when the closest defender was more than 6 feet away, and he shot at 50% from 3. All right, let's focus on today, and to do that, we got to bring you into Woj's corner. And Woj, obviously a big series that everyone's going to have their eyes on in the first round is going to be the Bucks taking on the Heat, and you have something on a Miami Heat player.
Yeah, Victor Oladipo, who played only 4 games for Miami after that trade from Houston, re-injured that quad tendon, had surgery. I talked to the renowned orthopedic surgeon, Jonathan Glashow, who did the procedure on May 13th on Oladipo, and tells me that he expects that this could be about a 6-month rehab for Oladipo, that he could possibly be cleared as soon as November, that he reattached the tendon, and this was the second time this had to be done in the last 2.5 years, but he's optimistic that this procedure went better than perhaps the first one did. Glashow did not do the first procedure when Oladipo was with the Pacers. And Glashow was optimistic that we will see a different Victor Oladipo coming back from this injury.
Well, obviously there was some uncertainty about his health coming to the Heat, but isn't that why they wanted to bring him in, to be able to evaluate him, have their doctors around Victor Oladipo?
Right, and he's going to continue to rehab in Miami. He'll work with Glashow, but also Miami's doctors. He's a free agent this summer, and so certainly Miami will have the best information about where he is on the rehab, what his timetable is. And certainly they could, look to do a contract with him for next season. But I think for Oladipo, I think the combination of care with Miami and doing the rehab down there, it seems like it may be a better scenario for him now than it was a couple years ago when he did the initial rehab on that quad tendon injury.
All right, well, Victor Oladipo only had a chance to play 4 games with the Miami Heat, and obviously they will move on in the playoffs this season without him. We are still waiting for the tip-off between the Bucks and the Heat, and Bam, he has been coined the MVP Slayer. The Greek Freak has not really had a lot of success against Bam Adebayo, and right now Giannis is averaging 16 points per game against the Heat so far this season. We'll see whether or not he can get some stops here today. Coming up, after meeting a brick wall in the form of Miami last summer, just like I just mentioned, Jay Will is going to explain how the 2-time MVP is